Floor recap with Angie, Tony, and spoiler, we've got Mike tonight, not Brad. He's taking the evening off. So, Mike, aka Mountains from season 3, is joining us tonight in Brad's place. And we're going to talk about this week, season 4, episode 5. We will be recapping all of the amazing duels and spending a little extra time telling you what we would have done with the category switch option during our season. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Mike, for joining tonight. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited.
I'm
happy
excited.
to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. It really was. You were a really good guest. As Brad loves to say, friend of the show from earlier. You know, you had a lot to contribute last season when we were recapping your season. So I'm glad you're back, especially since season 4 has added some twists, and we would love to get your perspective as we count down these duels. But we got a lot to talk about, so let's get started. We finished last week with Aaron's massive run, right? His historic, record-breaking, floor iconic run of 7 duels in a row, right? First player to do 7 in a row, first player to win 2 advantages during his run. He chose at one point the time boost, another point the category swap, I believe. And so this time he's coming back and he's got a quarter of the floor to himself. Rob opens the game saying, Aaron, what you gonna do? And he says, you know what? I basically intimidated everybody. I've done what I wanted to do. I got 20K in my pocket. I've got Harry Potter. I'm feeling good. I'm going to stay. So we begin with activate the randomizer, which happens. And we get started pretty quickly. Who do we get first? We get Arlene. Sweet Arlene looked a little shell-shocked to be picked, to be honest. She just didn't, I don't think anybody ever expects it, right? Everybody says, well, you're going to get picked sometime, but when your time comes, I don't know if you're always ready, right? I know I didn't. I thought it was not even under me for like a hot second, and then I felt pretty dumb. But Arlene was picked, and she's got houseplants. That's her specialty. But as we know, once you're tagged, you don't get to play your category. You have to attack someone else. So she decides to go after Idesia from Mississippi and food pairings. So we're going to make quick work of these first few duels before we get into Elizabeth's reign, Queen Elizabeth's reign of terror. But let's talk about Idesia and Arlene's duel in food pairings. What were your thoughts about that category, guys?
I mean, I think this one was just like pretty straightforward. It's like if you know it or you don't really, like, even if some of these like combinations I've never heard of, but I mean, if you just look at the 2 pictures, you'd be able to guess. I think one that I don't eat meatloaf. I didn't know meatloaf and ketchup was a combo. What was another one? The corned beef. I thought that was steak and like lettuce or something. So I was like, steak and lettuce. What is that?
Yeah, probably not the best picture on that one.
Yeah.
But I figure if you get corned beef, you kind of put it together. For me, the tough one was lamb and mint jelly, and I think that's probably a very British thing.
Yeah.
From kind of looking up and talking to people about it, because I've never had, like, I've had plenty of lamb, and it's never been with mint jelly.
Mint jelly,
like
yeah.
chimichurri or a wine reduction, something like that.
Right.
You know, so I can see the hang up on that. It just, there's a green sauce type thing, and
yeah.
I was yelling chimichurri, and it wasn't. So,
well, I love it. Dorian, the master chef. We're going to get to her later, but she'd love you, Mike, because you're dropping things like chimichurri and red wine reduction, and she's thinking, "Dang, that boy knows how to throw down in the kitchen." But yeah, I agree with you. Some of those were a little weird. I had heard of mint jelly, but honestly, it looked like a bowl of green Jello from my screen.
I thought it was spinach.
It was. Yeah. I think it was difficult. That's one thing that if we had a contestant on tonight, I'm curious about what it was like in studio. We know that things look different, especially based on your distance from a screen and resolution and things like that. But I thought that was a little odd. I did feel bad for Idesia because I don't know, it didn't look like corned beef to me right away. It did look like pastrami, and I think she got stuck on that. And then she said cabbage or slaw or sauerkraut, which is technically a cabbage. So I felt so bad because I was like, oh, baby, you so close. You so close. Just keep trying. But, you know, she was right to skip it. And yeah, there were a few images that were a little difficult, but I think you're right, Tony. It was just name the food. It was another name the food, or just name 2 foods. And, you know, it just happened that
there's
Arlene...
a lot of name the foods this season, I feel like.
Yeah.
There really are, right? We've just had food holidays, and
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
we're gonna.
there's still holiday foods on the board. There's a couple more foods on the board still. So
Yep. Yep. Well, they got to make use of all those images they couldn't use in your season or mine, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and you know that those producers are just like, come on, man, we did a ton of work. Let's use
I
these
know.
images. So, give it up to them. They're getting creative. So, food pairings goes down. Arlene, smart as she is, says, I'm going back to the floor. Apologizes to Rob. We're seeing that a lot this season. I think most folks saw the earlier seasons and they recognize Mr. Lowe's disappointment when people aren't ready to just, throw it all down on the table immediately and they all go back. So they're all saying, sorry, but I've got to go back. And she did. Still keeps houseplants though. She's feeling pretty confident. She's like, I've got my category. I'll go back and defend it. And then, of course, we get another randomizer. And this time we get Ashton from Louisiana. Now, Ashton's category is ghost stories. We're still not sure what that is. We'll find out, I'm sure. But she gets picked. Super cute suit, Ashton, by the way. I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody paying attention to fashion this season. I kind of liked her lilac pantsuit combo. She goes after Dorian. This is our master chef. And it kind of got dropped a little. I mean, she got a little bit of play when Rob gave her the props for winning, but not nearly as much as folks like Johnny Fairplay and Brian and other previous reality folks had gotten. But she was super sweet and very self-effacing, and she had Lisa Frank. So Ashton picked her and went for Lisa Frank. This definitely seemed to me almost a speed duel.
yeah.
I mean, they were both really neck and neck for quite a while. What were your thoughts?
I think that I love Lisa Frank. Like, I think it's really cute, but like a lot of this, it was just kind of like name the picture. Like, it kind of had nothing to do with Lisa Frank at all. I think they just wanted like more creative ways of doing name that thing.
Yeah.
But it was pretty easy. Honestly, I would say like the different dog breeds. I'm horrible about dog breeds. I didn't realize like it was gonna be like spaniel, husky, golden retriever. Like that was gonna be dog, cat. Just simple. But yeah, that was just. I mean, it was pretty simple duel.
Are you familiar with Lisa Frank, Mike? Had you heard of her before
I,
this
I
season?
am. I grew up in the era of Lisa Frank backpacks and folders and everything
Yeah.
Lisa Frank.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
had plenty of recognition there.
Yeah. And I didn't know if it was a genderizing thing or not. I know that, tends to be more popular with, girls, teen girls and their folders and their, binders and stuff for school.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely, a girl's thing, but I was the one that was always slipping notes into the girls' folders. So,
you're very familiar with
I
them
knew
now.
who in the class had the cat and who had the panda and who had the whale. Like,
Look at that, Mike. Are you single, by the way? I don't know if I've asked that before. Do you
no,
need to, do you want to
I'm married
volunteer?
actually.
Are you married? See, now I have to ask, did your lady have a Lisa Frank backpack? Was that part of the courtship? No?
It was not, but it could have been had she
Yeah.
had one.
Well, you're a good catch if you're paying attention to things like that. It speaks well of you. I think that Lisa Frank, again, you're right, Tony. It was really named the thing, only it's a different looking thing. I do think that, oh gosh, I feel bad for Dorian though, because we had puppies in the beginning. It was
Yeah.
puppy. And I'm sure that going back, it was a certain breed of puppy that you could
Yeah.
have probably guessed. But to me, when you're going to accept that, and then it got so granular, right? Like you said, husky, golden, and then she just inherited all of those. And it was just
Yeah.
the unfortunate luck of the draw. I know folks online and elsewhere will say that, oh, these are stacked and this person got the harder ones. And they don't, either they're not understanding how that works or they're just not thinking it through. But if somebody passes, it throws that whole chain off. It's not like
Yeah.
they've stacked it in advance. It's like if you pass, then it goes opposite. And so there's really no controlling who gets what. But in times like this, it does feel kind of bad when Dorian was just like, it's a dog. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah,
So
I
that was tough.
think my personal issue is with some of the categorization inconsistencies, such as like they didn't take kitten, but they took cat.
Yeah.
And like that seems the same as me. And same with like with the whale, they didn't take whale and they required orca. Well, I feel like an orca is basically a type of whale. I mean, I don't know the whole.
Did
Yeah.
they say whale earlier?
I don't know
Before
if there was
orca?
another category with whale, and certainly
They
there
haven't
wasn't another
had
whale on
and
Lisa
they haven't
Frank.
had
Because
kitten.
sometimes what they'll do on the floor is if you say the broad category first,
Right.
they'll give it to you, but then if they show another one, you have to say the specific.
Right, which is what my issue with that was because in
Yeah.
these instances they did not do that.
That's
Yeah.
true. There was no other whale. That was the first whale
It's the
image.
first whale, so in my
Yeah, that's
mind,
not
whale
fair.
should have worked
Yeah.
in the same way like kitten should have worked for cat. But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll have to see if that continues to be an issue. But anyway, poor Dorian, she had to go, but she was super gracious and cute. And then, of course, Ashton says, I'm going back to the floor. Rob sighs. And then we end up with a randomizer picking Matt. Now, this is funny because last night I'm watching and I'm seeing Matt and I'm like, I know you, dude.
I know.
You. I was like, what do I know you from? And I know some people in different areas of things in reality TV and other things, and I've been a teacher for 30 years, and sometimes it's surprising people I've taught pop up in life. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had you as a student. But that wasn't it, and I could not figure it out. And then my daughter walks in and she goes, oh, that's the guy from The Circle.
Yeah.
Ashley.
I was like,
Ashley, that's Ashley from The Circle.
right. And I told Asia.
That I love that season.
That was such a good
I
season.
love The
Circle
Circle
3,
too.
I think. I didn't write
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
down.
it was,
I think
it was the third season.
Yes.
And he was a catfish as his best friend.
Yes, he
Ashley,
catfished totally.
and he was really good.
He was
just-
good.
yeah.
And I was blanking so hard. And then my daughter, she's 18, she just comes and she goes, oh my gosh, this guy from The Circle. I was like, that's it. And I had actually sent him an Instagram message. And I said, Matt, I know you from somewhere. Where did our paths cross? And then I got back to him. I go, oops, I know you from TV. So anyway, I felt pretty dumb about that. He was really cool, though. He got back to us and said hi. And so he seems like a really nice guy. And he does seem like a nice guy. I think he got a little bit of a bad rap last night with people kind of giving him a little side eye. I'll explain that in a moment. There was a quote.
I will say, like, I feel like The Floor has always meant to be a show that you kind of put on in the background when you're at grandma's house.
Yeah.
But like now it's like they're trying to add a little bit of drama and little reality TV into it. And me, I do love that, but like I feel like I could see another perspective where people might be like, hey, this is just supposed to be a casual watch where I play along at home. I don't need all the side drama. I love the side drama. I mean, as long as it's playful, but like I love the little alliances and the all that. So it's just like interesting how it's like turning into that with this new season.
Yeah, it is a little different script. Not that it's scripted. It's not a scripted series, but there is a sense of kind of bringing some spicy's coming out occasionally. Sure. And it's interesting to see. And we'll talk about that quote I picked up. It was from Molly later. But Matt, he's got he's got Wild West, Geometry, and movie musicals. And Matt's an out gay man. He loves theater. I think he used to sing. Musicals make sense. And I don't think he was confident in the other ones. And he's like, it'd be great if I can get this corner, kind of grab that little corner. We know how good it is to camp out in a corner. Kind of makes sense. And I don't know if Shelby just didn't want to think she could be vulnerable to him or what happened. But apparently she felt kind of blindsided, backstabbed, what have you. And had kind of a deer in the headlights look.
Which is why I say that I don't believe in alliances, like true alliances on the floor. Because it's like, when push comes to shove, like sometimes the best category that you can choose is your best friend.
100%.
And if that's the case, and I don't think anyone should take it personal. And I also 100%. Don't think that alliances really help anything, like especially with how unpredictable things can be on the floor. It's just, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
especially with a known catfish. Like this guy.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Like, did you do
literally?
Like, did she see him and be like, who is this guy?
Well,
okay.
I think it actually worked for him in a way because you're building up the trust, you're building up the alliance, and then it's more of a shock when he goes after you.
And it throws people off. So that was their own category.
A gameplay move to build a false alliance with someone and then backstab them.
Yes, 100%. Because it throws her off emotionally. Yeah. So she's not thinking as clearly. And maybe that's why the big freeze moment happened. Yeah. That's an excellent point. So this one came down. Matt put on his glasses. He was dialed in. He was ready, and he knew his musicals. Boom, 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 boom. Went back and forth, right? And then we get to the point where there's Into the Woods, and it's just sitting there. And he's just got, she passed. I think she passed on Jersey Boys.
On Jersey Boys, which is one of my personal favorites.
I do too. I love me some Jersey Boys, right? I know. I was I was hurt by that. And then we're like, okay, and then she just stood there, and he's looking at her like, And she's standing there 21 seconds. Some people are saying 24, etc. I rewatched it tonight. It's 21 seconds when that pops up, and she sits and she sits and she sits. And at some point, I've got to be thinking, come on, Shelby. Now, I get it. Nerves are nerves. I get it. Lord knows I get it. But you got to, at some point, after 5, 10 seconds, have a moment of going, something's off here.
But it's like, if you didn't realize it was you at the beginning, you might never know.
No.
Which is crazy.
Right.
It was really horrible to watch. And you could tell that she knew it. Like, she was looking at him almost like really confident, like, oh, I got this. He doesn't know this. But then it was easy too. I saw Meryl Streep. I was like, no, it was the one.
I know. It was the one. I know. We're all shouting it. The floor is shouting it, right? They cut to like every
Which I'm surprised nobody like on the floor was like, hey. Maybe
I'm curious now, right? I'm really, really curious. And this is why it would be fun to, we'll have to remember this in a couple weeks when we run this, to ask a contestant about new rules. Because I know that there was some debate about whether or not the people on the floor should be able to shout out. We can't shout answers, but we've seen in previous season when somebody is frozen, somebody goes, it's your turn, go. This season, we didn't see that. And I'm wondering if they were like, nope, put the kibosh on it. You can't say anything. I don't know if that's true, but they certainly didn't show that. And it seemed that she had a lot of friends on the floor who would have had her back in that way. So I don't know. Does anybody know? Have either of you heard from other people yet?
I haven't. I would be curious. I bet people were like, hey, girl, you got to go. Like, and I think even someone made a comment being like, yeah, even Matt didn't say anything. If I was the opponent, I wouldn't be saying anything either. I'd be like, yeah, let your time run. I'm trying to win.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean,
honestly, if Matt called her attention and still won after that, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. And that's the thing that Molly said, for Matt to let it happen. Yeah, and she said it in a way that like threw Matt under the bus. Yeah, like, to let it happen. Shelby didn't play the game. She froze. That's the game. How is Matt supposed to do honestly, something?
If Matt said anything, I think it would be more of like an ego thing than anything, because it'd be like, I want to win. I want to actually win and not just, win against somebody who froze. And that's what I would think if anybody were to stop somebody from freezing up.
Just like I don't want somebody to throw the match. I want to earn the victory.
I want to earn it. Exactly.
And at what point, does he say anything? Like, I feel like it's almost kind of a, in bad taste move if he waited till there's like 3 seconds left and be like, exactly. Oh, by the way, it's your turn.
Right. You're kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't. Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Wait till the last second and go, it was your turn. I mean, you can't do that. That's like slimy.
The heartbreak when like the buzzer goes and she's like, wait, was that me? Was that me?
I know. And I think he was fine. He didn't have a cocky look. He just looked at her like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm just watching your time tick and I know I'm going to win this one. And he was pretty gracious at the end. He's like, it is what it is. It happened. He went back to the floor. 21 seconds. That just seemed like a lot to me. They did this season though. They did break that fourth wall or whatever they call it when they take somebody off stage and follow them, which they did to me. So I thought that was interesting. It was hard to tell if she was having a panic attack or just shocked. I don't know what was going on, but it was interesting to see that they gave her a little time there. Maybe that was in the editing as well, because they were trying to explain to the audience a reason for maybe why she stalled at 21 seconds. Probably. If they hadn't brought that in, we wouldn't have understood maybe where her mind was. Right. I wonder if that was put in after.
I would say this was like the first like stalling of the season so far. Like the show it was pretty consistent each episode. Like everybody there wasn't a lot of gaps. Yeah. But this was the first long pause, I would say. We're on episode 5?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh dang, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're doing something different this season. I don't know why that is, but
I'm looking forward to finding out. I'm going to inquire with some of our friends from this season and see if they have any intel. But so we get Shelby didn't react. Unfortunately, she's out. Rob has a really good new quote. I'm sure he's going to use it again. All's fair in love and war and on the floor. And I was like, there you go.
That was the floor. That was the episode title, I think, of last week.
I think you're right. Yeah, this week was Karma. Right? Yeah, all's fair and love. Yep. So randomizer again. This time we get Tanya. Tanya from Delaware. She was kind of a hoot. I liked her. She said, "Oh, I'm just gonna stay on the floor," and I was like, "No, that's not an option." And then she also somehow thought she won the playing card duel. I don't know why she would think it, but that was a weird,
she was
funny
adorable
thing too. She was cute though. She was funny and plucky and didn't take herself too seriously. But she decided, she's a chiropractor who had the category bones, which I have a feeling could have made her last quite a while. I think most people would be intimidated.
I think it's one of those things where there's only 266. It's easy to study, but it's still just like, if you say you're an expert at bones, I'm not trying to go against you.
Right. Especially with speed, right? I can study the bones. I could go, like, our college has a bone room with, like, for the anatomy and physiology lab. I could go there and study, but I wouldn't have the recall somebody who went to school for it would.
Exactly.
I would still be intimidated by that speed factor. So I think she could have lasted a while. Yeah. Unfortunately, she didn't, because she got randomized and went with Josh, who's also adorable and fun. I think he seems like a really nice guy. What did you think of the playing card duel, guys? That's different.
I did not realize it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be like Uno. Like I did.
Oh, playing cards like Skip-Bo, Uno.
Yes. I was like, wait, this is a little too easy. I was not expecting all that. I really wasn't.
I'm curious exactly what they thought it was going to be, like if they were told kind of it was going to be like naming the cards. Because if that's the case, like my strategy from the start of the season, like I was yelling at Aaron or anyone that won a couple roll, like swap to playing cards, because it's going to be a speed one. And like, to me, especially if you had, imagine if you had like playing cards and a time boost, I'm like, that's in the bag.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. That's a wrap.
But you know, because like it's such an easy one. Because like there have been others that have been speed, like time and math, you know, but like those actually require some sort of, you know, calculation or knowledge. But this one's just like 99% of people are going to be able to name these.
Yeah, and there wasn't obviously there wasn't a pass. I mean, nobody passed. It was just who was faster.
Yeah, it was just down to speed.
And Josh was faster. Yeah, I agree with you. I was oddly like, oh, that's what they're doing. All right, game on. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Like, how fast can you?
When the first card came up, it was an ace of spades. I was just like, ace. Why is it not? And I was like, oh, it's like it's okay.
Yeah. And then about a quarter of the way into the duel, they both start. First, I think he starts taking out the word of.
Yes.
And then she starts taking out the word of. It's like they're just trying to get every
king, hearts, queen, diamonds, jack.
But when she started to take it out, it caused her more time. She'd be like king, two, like king, diamonds.
Yeah, she was pausing instead of saying the word.
Yeah, I'm almost curious if he had practiced doing that. Like, and that's when you can sit down with a deck and just go through it.
I mean, it was his category. I'm sure he did, right?
Yeah. So
I do have to say,
taking out the of.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, I'm not going to flex. I mean, it's maybe a little flex, not really. I'm a big card nut. I'm a big poker player, have been for a very long time. I really wanted somebody to just come out and be like Suicide King or One-Eyed Jack, because, you know, there are specific royal cards. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, that's okay. I mean, it was just King and Jack, but I thought that would have been good.
Angie would be out there flexing on everyone.
And probably lose. That would be my hubris, right? I would have to say like suicide, you know, put that in there, and then I lost by like a second. But I did think it was a really good speed round. I like the mix up. I do. I like the easy general knowledge, speed, esoteric, super specialized niche categories. I like that it's all over the place. It makes it really interesting. So we get Josh. He won by 16 seconds though. That's the thing. It was a speed round, but she really lagged. And I think that just is another thing for future contestants to practice.
Did I win?
Yeah. Did I win?
I said, girl, it wasn't even close.
Wasn't even close.
She trophy just for being there.
Yeah, that's right. You won just by being there. All right, we're getting close to the second half here, but Josh goes back, and now Queen Elizabeth's reign begins. She's randomized. She's got that cute little tagline, you know, I'm from where your favorite credit cards are, you know, Wilmington, Delaware, and she's got Regency era. Now, when I first saw that category, when, you know, you could figure out what the categories were during promos and as the season advanced, I was like, is that like Bridgerton? Is that like, okay, maybe. Just that, you know, I was like, okay. But then I was like, or is it more historical, like very niche? Like you really have to recognize people, leaders, certain palaces, like things that were much more academic.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, ooh, that could be tricky. Turns out it wasn't that tricky. And we're going to get to that at the end. But I was like, whew, I would have dodged a bullet with that because I was really sweating it. She picks Arlene. She's been near her a while. She's thinking, houseplants, not that tough. I'm going to see a path to maybe going to Aaron or something else she said she had in her mind, at least in her clips, that she was going to play. So she picks houseplants. It's Arlene's category. I think she did really well. I think she just drew a couple that she blanked on. And because it was just a matter of tit for tat, when she got that polka dot plant, she just really lost some critical seconds on that. What did you think of that? Do you guys have house plants? Were any of those
that was a really good duel. I didn't know like half of those plants, to be honest. Like the money tree one, I knew bonsai. There was just a few that I was like, oh, I did not realize, this is one of those things where you just really have to study or you just have to have that outside knowledge.
Yeah. Do you have houseplants, Mike? You and your wife?
I have a few. I knew snake plant. I was all over that. I was all over bonsai. But to me, this was probably the most substantive category duel of the night. Like there was like you really had to have the knowledge.
Yeah.
And there were tonight. This was the one where there were the most that I just did not have any idea. Like the specific fig plant. Like that was tough. The polka dot plant. Like there's so. And it's tough to study plants too if you don't know them because they look very similar. And like I was looking up like she had said like the pink lady plant or something, so I was Googling what's that look like, and it does look pretty similar to the polka dot plant. So like that's a tough go.
I think unless you have a green thumb, you're somebody who's grown up around different plants, or you've worked in a nursery or greenhouse. I did work in a nursery for a while in high school, so I recognized a few. But I'll say, depending on the close-up and the angle, it's kind of tricky. Like the sage plant, I was really squinting. I was like, oh, I guess it's a sage. So many of them look alike. They're green and they're leafy, right? And if you're not paying attention to the specific details, size, and even the context, like that air plant, it took me a hot minute to see the globe around it.
Yes.
And not to just think, succulent or just any cactus. It was clearly an air plant. But yeah, I thought that was, like you're saying, probably the most difficult duel of the night in terms of common or general knowledge. So she wins and she says, I'm going to stay. Rob has a field day, super excited. He praises her for being gutsy and having the moxie and all of that. And so she's feeling pretty good. And she rolls in and says, you know what? Let's take on Lee in Famous Criminals. So Elizabeth's an attorney, if anybody noticed that. And I believe Lee may be one of the oldest competitors for this season. She's 69, I noticed. Even Elizabeth, she's 51. So she's like my age, a year younger than me. So it's kind of nice to see some older ladies up there really going at it and flexing their knowledge, because I do think life experience can play a part. And I think with something like Famous Criminals, it just might. There's a lot of time and history and context with that kind of a category. Any thoughts on the images they chose or the particular criminals?
I can't believe she didn't get Gypsy Rose. That was like the one that I knew.
Gypsy Rose, yeah.
Anna Delvey, that was just like a complete guess, and I was like, oh, okay, I got that. But other than that,
you didn't think it was Lindsay Lohan, like
no,
Elizabeth?
I didn't.
That was one of the funniest answers of the night.
That was really good. That, and then when she said Lion King for Joe, the Tiger King, I was like, Elizabeth, this is great stuff right here. This is good stuff. Good television.
I know. Yeah, no, that was so funny.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. You put somebody like Martha Stewart and Ted Bundy in the same like category.
I know.
That's getting kind of weird. But yeah, they had some very intense, iconic criminals. Like
I knew OJ was gonna be on there.
Mm-hmm.
There were some people that I'm like, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, for the most part, I didn't know half those people because I'm not really into true crime or any of that. But it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it was. And Lee, I love her. She's like, damn it. Damn it. Damn it. When she missed him, I was like, oh, honey, I totally feel you. And you could just tell she was like,
up at that.
She was ahead.
Is that the first time anyone's like been like cursing on the
I think on this season for sure. I think there's been moments, probably edited out. I thought That was pretty great. Well, and I got her frustration because she was ahead by 12 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
She was winning. And then she drew Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Then she drew
Escobar,
Pablo Escobar.
Escobar too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Pablo Escobar, who, I don't know, I think the pictures I've seen of him are different because I was thrown by it as well. The mustache, I was like, oh, that's Escobar, but anyway, it looked different. And then at that point, I think she was like toasty in her head. I think she was frustrated, irritated. Damn it. You know, Lee Harvey Oswald comes up and she's like blanking. But she would know Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, that's her generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his face would have been all over the place. JFK's assassination, she would have been in that same time frame. I just think at that point she was like pissed, as you are when you miss some and you're like, you knew it and you don't know it, and it's frustrating, especially with the lead that she had. And so that was really hard to see. But you know, kudos to Elizabeth. She stuck it out, still holding on to her home category. She's seeing a path, and she says, you know what, I'm going for the trifecta. Let's do this. Sybil, let's go. Great outdoors. This category, what do you think? What do you think about the image choices? Mountain Man. Mike, you're a mountain man.
Yeah,
You're
Mike, as somebody who did, what did you do?
There wasn't
Camp?
long pajamas.
Yeah.
They had the
That's
clothesline. I'm like,
That
oh,
was
it's
pretty.
coming.
I mean, yeah,
There
that
was
was
no union
pretty
suit on that clothesline. You're
similar.
right. But you're Tony. Do you do outdoor stuff? Are you a camper? Are you
Not
do you
really,
do stuff?
no. If I ever go camping, I don't want to do like glamping or something. You know what I
Glamping,
mean?
yeah, like in a yurt with like air conditioning. That's my
or
that's
maybe like
me
a
roughing it.
cabin.
Yeah, a
That's
cabin.
like out. Yeah, a cabin where I can open a door and I can
like that.
walk outside and come back in after 5 minutes.
There you go. With a bathroom with an
Yeah,
actual toilet.
bathroom, some electricity, TV.
Yeah. I feel that. You just basically want a house that's more outside than your own house. Yeah.
A house on the woods.
A house on the woods. Yeah. What do you think, Mike? You like the mountains? You like the great outdoors?
For me, we're out in Utah. We have I'm the mountain category. I know the difference between an elk and a moose. Like,
Good.
But I think everything was easy except for probably charcoal chimney. I would have gotten hung up on that one too.
Yeah.
Because camp stove seems very similar.
It does, especially the way like a camp stove, if it's super compact and portable, and it's almost like origami, in the way that the metal plates kind of stand up together. The only reason I knew a charcoal chimney is because I do grill at home. And so when I'm getting the coals ready, we use a charcoal chimney to get them done. But I've never seen one or used one camping before. I've always just used a campfire. So yeah, I thought that was tricky. I thought trail marker, I might have stumbled on that because I just kept feeling like ribbon. Like I just kept looking at it like it's a tree ribbon.
Yeah, no,
and I probably would have said tree ribbon and felt like a moron. But it went over my head. I wasn't thinking about a trail marker at all.
I could see that sticking with a lot of people, cause them to stumble there. And trail markers look very different depending on where you're at. Sometimes they're just blazes, sometimes they're actual writing.
Like I've seen painting like arrows and stuff.
Ribbon like that, it's often for like search and rescue purposes to mark where people have been and stuff. So
that's what I thought. I said hunter's tape or hiker's tape, I think, in my brain, because I've always been told, like, if obviously you should never wander. You're always supposed to stay, right? Like, don't go off. But I guess if you had to leave or you were trying to tell people where you were, you would create something like that.
If you're lost, start making a path. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, I mean, we did have spider, we had rabbit, we had snake, pine cone, rain. Okay, that's fine. I just, maybe something, I thought maybe a little more like more niche, like an RV, a sleeping pad.
It was kind of named the thing: tent, snow, rain.
Yeah,
poncho.
But it was good. It was easy enough, and I don't think there's only one pass, and that was the charcoal chimney. And then she's got her choice. Now this is where I want to finish and talk about Erin, but then have a little fun playing what if. So she gets the 3. She gets time booster category swap. They make a deal of it. There's a couple minutes of hemming and hawing. I think she had a lot of time to choose, and she picked category swap. And of course, at this point, we all figured out what's going on. Like, if you could play in your own expert category and actually not have to hold it like she was, but actually play it like we want to when we get on the show, why wouldn't you trade that to somebody who's also holding on to $20,000? So it seemed like a pretty obvious move and a really good one to say, hey, Aaron, I was paying attention. I saw what you did. Let's do it to you. So I think people appreciated a little bit of that comeuppance, a little like, hey, karma comes back to bite you in the butt. Aaron was gracious, but I think he saw it coming. I think he knew that as long as she was going to win, she was going to come after him. And I think he panicked a bit because chances are Regency era, when he saw it, is all the way on the other side of that board. He probably doesn't have to study it right away. I know
Oh
I
yeah.
certainly was studying things closer to me. I wasn't paying attention to the other side very much. And I think he realized he's just going to have to go off of what he knows, which ended up not being a ton. But, you know, he made some good guesses, good stabs. I think he passed 3 times. I made a note. I thought that too, as a category, was pretty decent and a lot easier than I expected it to be. Did you guys get hung up on anything on that?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think there
No.
were some that were maybe a little bit tougher that would have taken me a little more time, but I don't think I ever got hung up on any of them.
Yeah, the last one I did not know it was called a reticule. I didn't know that. I kept thinking like jewelry pouch,
Yeah, that one I
potpourri
didn't know.
pouch,
I will
satchel.
say, like, with Regency era, it was like, I think for Aaron, I think it was more like nerves than
Yeah.
not knowing.
Yeah.
I'm not the most familiar with it, but I felt pretty confident with a lot of them. But there were a few, like, yeah, like the pouch. I was like, what even is that? And then um the bed, that bed. I was thinking
Oh,
like
the
master
4-poster
bedroom or
bed.
something.
Four-poster bed, yeah.
Yes, I was like, I'm not sure, but
My
that was an
grandparents
amazing
still
move.
have one, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I,
was
I
an amazing move on Elizabeth's part, like using his move against him.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really good.
Well,
I didn't think that Aaron was gonna make it past like the first or second duel of this episode, to be honest.
yeah.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I think he's actually gonna make it through the episode. And then,
I
yeah,
think I would agree with you because I don't think people assumed he's an expert in Harry Potter, for one. Harry Potter's also an extremely pop culture category that a lot of people know well. But I think that most players at this point wouldn't have gone after him in the first few duels because they would know that they were not likely to hold that territory for long and that
yeah.
they wouldn't be
That's
set to take
why
the
yeah, it's
20K.
a big
I
risk.
don't know how he is with Harry Potter, but it was more thinking like because he had such a big territory and the only big territory, it's just a matter of time before somebody tries to go
Well,
after
yeah, he
him.
was not going to last for long. I don't think
Yeah,
he'd have to
no.
like defend everything all the
Yeah.
time. And then I think Elizabeth's like, well, I'm going to go for it because it's the last duel of the night. I'm guaranteed 20K. Come what may next time. Yeah, in episode 6, she's probably going to get knocked off too, unless she can defend all of these people because they're going to want that money and they're all going to probably wait until the last or second to last duel to make a run for it. And I think it's really fun to watch. The category switch is really, I think, having a desired effect of propelling people to be more competitive. If they're going to stay at all on the floor, fine, go back. But if they're going to stay and play, I think most people are going to go for 3. I don't see a lot of
I
people just going for 1 and done.
I really love the category switch as a audience member. I love watching it. I think as a player it would make me more anxious, but like I think that it makes a game a lot more interesting, and it's just like I feel like it gives people more agency in the game because while I do like the time boost, I think something like the category steal it gives you more agency. It gives you more, it's more of a boost in my opinion, and I really like it.
So let's play what if. Let's go back in the floor time machine. And for folks watching, if you want to play the game eventually and get on the show, and you love talking strategy, this is the time where we're going to talk about what we would have done if and only. And none of us had the opportunity to have the category switch. That's a new mechanic for this season, and we all agree it's pretty great. But if it had been part of our seasons, I'm going to start with Tony, then Mike, and time permitting, I'll chime in too. But if you had that as an option and you were able to choose it, can you think of a time in the game when that would have made a big difference for you and how you might have played it?
Oh, dang. I actually really need to think about this. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think maybe I would have probably stole. Here's the thing, like there were a few like categories where I'm like, oh dang, if that was my category, That would have been so easy for me, but I don't know if I would category steal something that like is of my interest more than like something that I feel like would intimidate people. I really liked my original category. I think it was enough my interest, but also enough to intimidate people. So I don't even know if I'd category switch in the first place, but I really liked teen dramas. I love teen dramas, and um, I think in my season, if I had that category, that would have been amazing. Um, that and maybe, uh, I think teen dramas.
Okay. Cool. What about you, Mike? Do you looking backward on your gameplay and your trajectory and what your strategy was like, would this have impacted your strategy at all?
Early in the game, especially, I don't think for me personally it would have, because I was pretty comfortable with my categories. I started off, playing my own category in the first episode, but then I got islands, which was also a geography one I was very comfortable with. And then I got, hunting and camping, and I was very comfortable there. So I never, like, I always felt like I had the advantage in those categories. Once I took on the bigger ones, the question is, like, would I have category switched instead of taking the time boost when I won 3 in a row? And the answer is probably yes, but it probably still wouldn't have mattered in the end because I didn't need the time boost. And I think I was getting challenged either way. So it probably would have just been kind of a waste either way. Had that option been available after that point, I think at the same time I was somewhat more comfortable with physics than I was with any of the other ones around me.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you could do any category. It doesn't have to be the ones around you.
That's true, but I would have had to win 2 more at least in order to get that next one. So, I wasn't comfortable with, like, hotels was the one that I had been thinking in my mind. Maybe I could take on. Authors was one I could maybe take on. But again, is it worth the risk of playing 2 more duels just to get the category switch?
To get it. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it's tricky. There's a lot of variables, right? I mean, what we've seen, and we have a smaller sample size, but it's getting bigger. They've already filmed season 5, and they're auditioning for season 6. So I think at this point, it's interesting to me to see how everything changes when that floor starts to break apart. Where is the whale? How close is the whale to you? Is the whale in a place where you could get that money and keep the money? Could you hold people off? I think it all depends on, do you want the 20K or do you want the 250K? What do you think you're willing to sacrifice? Because I don't think anybody who gets the 20K yet has held on to win the whole thing, right? And so I think there's something to say that when you're in that big whale position, you can go for that quick money, but then there's a target on your back forever after. So I'm not sure how it would work. I would know. In my case, I thought about it in terms of at the end and the final episode. I wanted Shakespeare, and I wanted to take Shakespeare into the final duel. That was my plan, because Shakespeare was the most intimidating to everyone left. I'm an English professor. I knew that stuff well enough. I was like, I'd like to have it, but I couldn't get it. The only way to defend it would be to have it, and the only way to have it would be for Jaina to attack me, which ended up working well, and I was really excited with accessories. It didn't end up going my way, but had it gone my way, I would have had Shakespeare, and it would have been fun to see how it played out. But if I had the opportunity to just take it and say I want it, I would have swapped that, and then I wouldn't have had to worry about the randomizer, making my strategy happen for me. But I think there's a lot to be said for this. And I want to double check. Am I wrong? Has anybody who's won the 20K also won the end? I don't think so. I don't think Keelan didn't. Jacqueline didn't.
No.
And your guy, Chef Steve, didn't. So I think it's one or the other at this point. People are noticing either I think I can play the long game, or I'm going to take what I can get when I can get it. And I think that's
I think what's unique about this season is that there's only one whale, and it's not even close for anything else. I think with other seasons, you can kind of build your own whale. Like you can, I mean, there were like, second and third place, but I think it's just that big whale, and then maybe like 2-3 squares here and there. You can't really build your own. I think with our season, there was like 2 big chunks at one point. I think in your season, Angie, it was like 2 big chunks at one point. But there's just one, so there's going to be a spotlight on one person.
Yeah.
Well, they've also they're coming off of just watching Brian win 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
and really only have to compete for half of those. So in their mind, maybe being the whale and controlling it is possible.
Right.
Will anyone ever be able to do it as well as he did is to be determined, but like you're saying, like the makeup of the floor definitely does affect that, where it's either the whale or nothing at this point.
Yep. And honestly, I don't think Harry Potter's going to hold it. I think you're going to need a very specific niche category that people are more scared they'll lose by than thinking they'll win to take that 20K. You got to be intimidating either as a person or as a category holder. And Harry Potter I don't think intimidates enough people to make it the whale that's safe, right? I don't think she can hold on to that next time, but we'll find out. So next week, everybody should note that because of the World Series, just like this time last season, the floor will not be shown. It will be on the week after. So that means we too will be on hiatus next week. But tune back in 2 weeks from now as we recap episode 6. We'll see if Queen Elizabeth can hold on to her reign or if somebody else is going to take the crown for the night. Mike, thanks so much for pitching in for Brad. You're welcome anytime. We always love to hear your commentary. And Tony, as always, so glad you're joining us this season to recap it all. And everybody stay safe out there. Enjoy the upcoming weekend, and we'll see you next time.